All right. Hello and welcome. Hello and welcome. This is a brief introductory video into Ayurveda. It is a overview of the course, so we will go a little bit deeper in the next series. Okay, let's just Hello and welcome. This is an overview of Ayurveda. Ayurveda 101 is a generalized overview of the different concepts and philosophies of Ayurveda. I have a presentation I'd like to share with you. And just know that we will go into a little more detail in the next few videos. But if you're looking for something more personalized, a little bit more specific to you and your unique mind-body type, then you can reach out to me via email, and I'm more than happy to answer specific questions and also give my time for a dosha deep dive, which we'll learn a little bit more about in the next few minutes. So I will share my screen with you. Maybe. Perfect. So we'll be switching over to the presentation. Today we'll be going over the basic concepts and philosophies of Ayurveda. Let's begin by talking about the key points that we will address. So first we'll start with who I am and kind of what I'm about, how I came to find Ayurveda and why it is so meaningful to me. We're going to talk about key concepts, the basic philosophy that everyone should understand when starting out on their Ayurvedic journey. This also blends really well with yoga. So even if you are new to Ayurveda, but you have a dedicated yoga practice, these philosophies go hand in hand. So I'm super excited to share this. It's something I'm really passionate about and always learning more. So this is just an introduction, and there's always more information, more knowledge to be gained. So feel free to Google, check in on some readings, and stay tuned for more videos. Then we'll talk more about digestion and metabolism and how everything links together in our body. And I'd like to share a free resource with you, so stay tuned till the very end of this presentation. So let me introduce myself. My name is Mickey. I am an Ayurvedic health counselor, and in so many words, my mission is to help you feel at home in the body you were entrusted with on this journey of consciousness. I had kind of a tumultuous early adulthood, a young teen, early adult time. I was an athlete in high school, and I learned that pushing my body felt really good up until a point, and then it became really uncomfortable for me. And so I felt like I was constantly fighting my body. I wanted to look a certain way. I wanted to fit into a size 00 jeans. It was all about how things looked and not about listening to my body. And so pretty quickly, I realized that that was not healthy and it was not going to work long term. So I discovered yoga through a local YMCA class, and then pretty quickly fell into a more dedicated practice and built this company, Unify Mind Body, to help solidify some of the things that I learned along the way. I always felt like I was fighting against my body. And so this unity between what the mind wants and what the body needs has been really crucial in my health journey. And I think a lot of people struggle with this concept of what we think we should do versus what we honestly actually will benefit from, and finding that balance between the two. So my hope is that you can learn from my experience and maybe not have such a tough time, maybe shortcut a little bit and be able to find that balance before it's too late. So, what is Ayurveda? Ayurveda is literally the science of life. This is a Sanskrit word, Ayur meaning life and the vitality, and Veda meaning knowledge or science. It's an ancient holistic healthcare system that encompasses everything, our diet, our lifestyle, and it is holistic in the sense that it views the person as a whole, not just as a symptom. And so, one of the big perks of Ayurveda is that with this lifestyle, with this diet, and with food as medicine, we can actually prevent disease before it even happens. And then, of course, if disease is present, there are tools, tricks, remedies, herbs, and other healing modalities that can help bring our body back to that natural balance. I love Ayurveda because it honors each of us as an individual. So everyone's program, everyone's lifestyle and routine is going to be completely different. A little bit of history: Ayurveda originated in India over 5,000 years ago. It is as old, if not older, than the yoga tradition. In fact, the classical texts were written in the ancient language of Sanskrit, and it actually predates that written history. So it is a yoga sister science filled with ancient wisdom that can teach us to heal our bodies with a very personalized touch. And we'll talk more about that personal mind body type that each of us has. So here are the 5 koshas. Kosha means sheath. It is sort of a physical manifestation or a limitation to the self, Atma. So Atma is divided into 5 layers, going from very physical to and very gross, very tangible and realistic, to very subtle energies. So as you can see on this image, our physical body is kind of the most tangible. Below that is the prana maya, which is the life force sheath. That's our breath flowing through our body. That's the warmth on our skin. Then we have the manamaya kosha, which is that mental sheath, all the thoughts, the fluctuations of the mind, all the desires and aspirations. Below that is the wisdom sheath. So that is this sort of subconscious inherent knowledge that we inherit from our ancestors. It's sort of intrinsic into our being. Without thinking about it, we naturally can draw upon this wisdom. And then the last and maybe hardest to attain or to measure is that bliss body. The bliss body is something that the yogis strive for. So the reason why we do our yoga practice and our breathing, and the reason why we try to become better versions of ourselves and better humans, is so that we can attain this bliss state and we can live more fully present in that bliss body. And so Ayurveda looks at each of us from that earthly body all the way up to that bliss state and everything in between. That is why it is considered so holistic. And I love this because I think a lot of modern medicine forgets about or doesn't take into account that we have thoughts, we have emotions, we have ancient wisdom that is inherent, and we also have this idyllic bliss body. So without all these components, how can we really be whole? So we are going to focus on the Annamaya Kosha, that food body, because it is the most tangible. It's the easiest to have an impact on with our day-to-day life. And for a lot of people, with like myself included, if you are uncomfortable in your physical body, it is going to be very challenging to tune into those more subtle energies. So that is why we focus mainly on Annamaya Kosha, this food body. And then as our practice evolves and as we begin to feel more comfortable in our own skin, we can dive deeper into that wisdom or bliss state. So Agni is a key concept in Ayurveda. Agni is your digestive fire. It can also be thought of as your metabolism. It's critically important to our overall health. So I'm sure you know this, but our gut health is intrinsically connected with our brain health, our emotional health, and everything in between. So if you, for example, eat something that maybe doesn't sit well with you, you might experience a rash or acne. You may feel really restless and not get enough sleep. So without this balanced Agni, our body cannot be whole and healthy. Agni is said to be the force of intelligence within each of our cells, each tissue, and every system within the body. So that's why it is so closely linked to metabolism. Metabolism is kind of this modern understanding. Agni is this ancient understanding that dates back to the elements. So ultimately, Agni determines which substances enter into our cells and which substances should be removed as waste. In this way, Agni is the gatekeeper of life. And according to Ayurveda, without Agni, like if we say, if it were to be extinguished, our physical body and ourself, we would die. So it's pretty important. It's pretty key part of our health and wellness. So why is Agni so important? Because it helps us to digest and assimilate our food, which helps to fuel our physical body. So another key concept is Ama. Ama is undigested metabolic waste. It is said to be the antithesis or the opposite of Agni. So without strong digestion, we would have more Ama. And if we target our digestion, then we get rid of that metabolic waste. So Ama is caused by eating foods that are heavy, like oily, greasy, processed foods. It is also caused by diluting that Agni or making our digestion weaker. And this can be caused by a lot of things, but something as simple as drinking too much water at a meal or eating foods that imbalance our set point or our dosha. We're going to talk a lot more about doshas in the next couple videos, but just think about this constant process like a fire. So if you've ever been camping and you lit a fire, to start that fire, you need very dry, very like a certain kind of fuel for that fire. And if the fire is blazing and you start throwing in like tin foil and aluminum and all these things that don't burn clean, then the smoke from that fire is going to be darker. It's going to smell funny. It's going to have this residue, and it's not as clean of a fuel. So just like that fire at the campsite, our tummy and our digestion is the exact same. So if we put clean, fresh, nourishing food into our fire, then that fire burns strong and it burns clean. But if we put in processed foods, things that doesn't sit well with our body, we're going to end up with this metabolic waste called Ama. This can be measured on our tongue. And so in the morning, I encourage you to take a look in the mirror and just see if you have a little bit of coating on your tongue. Everyone does, even if you have a strong digestive fire, but you're going to have more of it if your digestion is weak or if you've been eating foods that don't sit well with you. So just as a little experiment in the next couple of days, I invite you to notice your tongue in the morning and then brush it off and start fresh each day. So the 5 elements come into play very early on in the Ayurvedic journey. These are energetic qualities that are present in each of us. Ayurveda believes that we are a slice of the universe. We are a tiny microcosm within this huge macrocosm. And so the elements that we see in nature are also reflected within each of us. So you can see in this graph that we have 5 natural elements. And this is a quote from Dr. Frawley. He has some really great Ayurvedic books if you're interested in learning more about this. His quote says, "All elements originate from ether." So ether is the expansive universe. Ether moves to become air. So adding in that movement creates wind and air. Air causes friction, which then becomes fire. Fire becomes water as it becomes denser, and all 5 elements are contained in the earth. So this graph does a really great job of showing that dense earthly quality and how it gets lighter and more expansive as we move up into ether. Now, each of these elements have energetic qualities that help to describe them and help us to understand how they are present within our own physiology. So for example, earth is very dense and slow moving, can also be kind of cool and sticky like mud. The water element is cool, it's very mobile, it's kind of like our emotions, always fluctuating. Water likes to go down the path of least resistance, so it has this sort of spreading and expansive quality to it. Next, we have fire. Fire is hot and very transformative. It changes everything that it touches, just like our eating food and digesting it down into the little bits and pieces that make up that meal. Wind is very cool and dry, very quickly moving, and ether is clear, subtle, light, and very expansive. So this will make a lot more sense in the next slide here. So, oops, we're going to go forward one to find the right slide here. So these are the gunas. The gunas are sets of qualities that are balancing, but also aggravating. So I'll explain a little bit better. So everything in Ayurveda can be described by these 20 qualities. Now, these 20 qualities have sets, right? Pairs of opposites. So for example, that slow moving earthly element can be balanced out by more quickly moving, flowing energy. The same goes for something that is maybe oily. You would balance that out with something drier and a little bit more brittle. So this comes into play with not just the elements in our body, but also the food that we eat, the thoughts that we have, times of day, and different seasons. So you can imagine the warm, wet springtime may be aggravating for some of our symptoms, and we would balance that out with drier, like maybe a drier environment, or being really mindful about our skincare, bringing in these healing qualities to balance out our doshas. So what is a dosha? Great question. There are 3 main doshas comprised of those 5 elements. So the elements help to show us what qualities are apparent in each of these doshas. So before we dive into this, it can be a little bit confusing. So our body has all 5 of the elements. Depending on how they come together can help show us if we are higher in Vata, higher in Pitta, or higher in Kapha. But we have all the elements present. So it's safe to say that we have all the doshas present, just one may be a little elevated compared to the other. And this will make a lot more sense if you choose to do a dosha deep dive. You can break down exactly kind of the percentage of Vata, the percentage of Pitta, and the percentage of Kapha. But you can think of this kind of like your mind-body profile, maybe like a mind-body type that you have. So Vata, made up of air and ether, has different qualities than Pitta or Kapha. Pitta is fire and water, so very ambitious, very hot-headed, and just a different type than Vata. Kapha is earth and water, so these people tend to be very warm and inviting, very emotionally available, very calm and easy to talk to, whereas Vata may be more creative, but also a little more heady and maybe tends towards the spiritual nature, but also a little bit scattered and a little bit none of these things are negative, but they may be a little bit unreliable or a little bit aloof at times because of that airy and really expansive quality to them. So this is also a fun experiment to just notice within yourself when you may experience that fiery Pitta nature, when you are feeling more earthy and grounded, like Kapha, or when you are having these creative insights and feeling maybe really open to something new, like Vata. And here's a great example. So each dosha has not just elements that are associated with them, but we can see those energetic qualities, the gunas. So Vata is cold, mobile, dry, light, rough, clear, and subtle. When balanced, these Vata types can be very enthusiastic. They get really quality sleep. They can be alert, flexible, and creative. But some of those gunas, some of those qualities, when aggravated, they can cause anxiety, dry skin, weight loss, joint pain, stiffness, constipation, headaches. So vatas in our body are also present in our environment, like a specific time of day from 2 to 6 in the morning and 2 to 6 in the evening. Vatas also have a season. So fall and early winter are when the air is cool, there's some windiness, it's very dry outside. And as you can see, these doshas kind of build off of each other. So as we look around in the world around us, we might notice pitta in the late spring and summer, between 10 and 2 in the day. Those hot, sharp, oily, and mobile qualities can create a very intelligent, strong, passionate person with a healthy complexion and strong digestion. But when out of balance, those hot qualities may cause heartburn, diarrhea, an upset tummy, inflammation, skin issues like rashes or acne. Kapha season is in the late winter and early spring. So those cool, soft, almost slimy like mud, cloudy, heavy qualities are really present in that time of year. When balanced, kaphas are very reliable and grounded, very stable, strong. They enjoy routine and they love to be supportive to those around them. Although when imbalanced, these people you may experience feeling sluggish, maybe some nasal congestion, lethargic, depressed, cold and clammy, and kaphas tend to have excessive weight when there's an imbalance. So again, what of these doshas, if you had to guess, would you say is maybe your balanced point? Are you motivated and intelligent? Are you maybe more grounded and enjoy routine? Are you more of a homebody? Or are you really creative, flexible, enthusiastic? And then also those imbalances, are you experiencing some of the symptoms of a high vata imbalance, maybe some pitta or kapha? And just keep in mind that everyone has a little bit of each. Nobody is perfectly balanced at all times. And it's very important to look at this seasonally as the seasons change. So right now we are entering into kapha season. It's late winter, early spring. So you may be feeling a little bit sluggish. You may be having trouble getting out of bed or trouble losing those last few pounds. You may also be feeling really grounded and really comfortable in where you are. So it's always important to look at everything in a new light. Everything is constantly fluctuating and changing day to day, minute by minute. And the more that we incorporate those energetic qualities of each of the gunas, the more we can kind of see how this plays out in our body and in our mind and in our routine. Awesome. So we've talked a little bit about Ayurveda, what it is and how it impacts our daily life. So there is so much information to be gleaned from this ancient modality, and I'd love for you to continue exploring. There are lots of wonderful recipes, lots of great yoga flows, and most importantly, this ebook has a free dosha quiz inside. So if you are ready to explore more about what Ayurveda is and what it can do for you, I encourage you to grab this free ebook. It's available on my website, and I will leave a copy because you guys have decided to commit to a dosha detox, which is very exciting. You deserve this ebook, and it'll help you learn more about history and philosophy. We barely scratched the surface, so this ebook goes in depth. You can discover your unique dosha mind body type with that free quiz and use this ancient wisdom to balance out your life, balance out your routine, and find something that works for you and that fluctuates just like life does and meets you right where you need to be. This is just a little sneak peek. There's a whole module on digestion and how to rekindle your fire. This can help you improve your digestion just by using some common household spices and some little tweaks to your daily routine that can help you along your journey. You're going to discover your dosha, learning about those unique qualities that are present in us and in the natural world. It's great for finding those imbalances and using our routine to prevent the imbalance, to heal the imbalance, and to move through it with grace and ease. I am also available. My contact is in here, and we are always going to be working together, bouncing ideas off of each other. So keep this resource in your toolkit. It will really help you as you continue to learn more about yourself through the lens of Ayurveda. Awesome. So I hope you enjoyed just that brief introduction. And I look forward to sharing more with you in the next few days. Namaste, yogis.